involved, involved, involved. So, let's talk about the word involved. The part of speech for involved is a verb or a noun, depending on how it's used in a sentence. As a verb, it means to be engaged or connected with something, often emotionally or physically. For example, she was involved in the project and put her heart into making it successful. As a noun, involved describes people who are directly connected to a situation, like a crime or an accident. For instance, the police were still trying to figure out who was involved in the robbery. Now, let's look at some common usage. When we say someone is involved in something, it means they're actively participating or taking part in that thing. It can also imply responsibility. So be careful how you use this word. If you're saying someone was involved in a bad situation, it might sound like they were to blame. As for special notes about its usage, did you know that the past tense of involved is actually participated or was connected to, not just was involved? That's because was involved can sometimes mean being associated with something in a more general way, rather than actively participating. The concept of being involved is quite versatile, isn't it? In a formal setting, such as a university or a research institution, you might say something like, "The team conducting the environmental study has been heavily involved in the planning and execution phases to ensure the highest level of accuracy." This sentence contextually highlights the importance of an interdisciplinary approach to scientific inquiry. In contrast, during a casual conversation with friends over coffee, you might remark, "I was so involved in that TV show last night, I didn't even notice my phone was dying." Here, the phrase is used to convey the immersive quality of a compelling narrative or character-driven storyline. Lastly, in a business context, such as a meeting between investors and management, you could say something like, "Our company has been involved in various strategic partnerships to expand our market reach, which has led to significant revenue growth." This sentence showcases how being involved can be a key factor in driving commercial success through calculated collaborations. So you want to learn about this concept, right? It means being part of something that affects or concerns you directly. Imagine being part of a team that's working together on a project. You're not just watching from the sidelines. You're actively contributing to its success. The main characteristics are that you're taking an active role, making decisions or participating in discussions, and your actions have an impact on the outcome. It's similar to concepts like being part of a group, teamwork, collaboration, or even responsibility. All these ideas convey the idea of sharing the load or working together towards a common goal. When we use this concept, it usually means that someone is doing more than just listening or observing. They're actively participating and making things happen. Issues. 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 The word issues is actually quite versatile, but it's often misused by non-native speakers. As a part of speech, issue, note the singular form, can be both a noun and a verb. When used as a noun, it generally refers to a problem or a matter that needs attention, such as the company has issues with customer satisfaction. However, when issues is used with plural verbs, it often implies multiple problems or concerns. Like, the new policy has raised several issues among employees. It's essential to note that in formal writing and some spoken contexts, the singular form issue tends to be more precise and polished. On the other hand, using issues in informal settings, especially when referring to multiple problems, can convey a sense of urgency or gravity. What's key is to use it consistently within a particular context to avoid confusion. Let's say you're discussing language learning with me. Here are 3 practical example sentences using the word issues in different contexts. In formal settings, such as academic journals or research papers, you might use the phrase "the issue of plagiarism among students" to emphasize a specific concern or problem. For instance, the issue of plagiarism among students has been a persistent problem in many educational institutions, highlighting the need for stricter policies and more effective deterrence. Here, the word issue is used to denote a serious problem or controversy that requires attention. In casual conversations with friends, you might say something like, "I'm having issues with my phone's battery life. It just dies on me all the time," to express frustration or annoyance. In this context, the phrase "having issues" is an informal way of saying experiencing problems, and is often used in everyday speech. In a business setting, such as a meeting or report, you might use the phrase "the issues with supply chain logistics" to refer to specific challenges or difficulties that need to be addressed. For example, the company needs to address the issues with supply chain logistics in order to meet our quarterly sales targets. Here, the word issue is used to denote a particular problem or obstacle that requires attention and resolution. How's your language learning going? Do you have any specific topics or phrases you'd like to practice? So, you want to learn about something that can be tricky for non-native speakers to deal with in a new language? Let me try to explain it clearly. When we talk about issues in this context, we're referring to problems or difficulties people might face when trying to communicate in another language. For example, they might struggle to understand certain words or grammar rules, have trouble expressing themselves correctly, or feel frustrated because they don't know how to say something in the target language. The main characteristics of this challenge are feeling stuck or confused, and wanting to improve but not knowing where to start or how to fix it. You might see similar concepts referred to as language barriers, communication gaps, or linguistic obstacles. These all point to the same idea. As for what you can do about it, there are many resources available like language courses, practice materials, and online communities where people share tips and advice on how to overcome these challenges and become more confident in their language skills. Labor. 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 So, you want to know about the word labor. In terms of part of speech, it's a noun, and it refers to physical or mental effort used in an activity. The common usage is that people often use labor to talk about workers, especially those who work on construction sites, farms, or factories. Think blue-collar jobs. For example, the government implemented new laws to protect the rights of laborers. However, what's interesting is that this noun has a slightly different connotation compared to its American counterpart, which is labor. Labor tends to have a stronger sense of physical work involved. So you're wondering how to use the word labor in different contexts. I'd be happy to help with that. In formal usage, the sentence would be, "The Prime Minister announced plans to reduce the labor costs associated with hiring temporary workers." This context is suitable for a news article or official press release where precision and formality are key. Moving on. In casual conversation, you could say something like, "I'm feeling pretty knackered after a long day of physical labor at the construction site, mate." Here, the relaxed tone and use of slang, e.g., knackered, would fit well with a friendly chat or social media post. Finally, For business or academic usage, you might write, the recent study on occupational health highlights the correlation between prolonged periods of mental labor and increased rates of anxiety among office workers. In this case, the use of technical jargon, e.g., occupational health, and formal language would be more suitable for a research paper or business report. So you want to know what labor is? Well, in simple terms, it refers to the physical effort or work that people put into doing something, especially when they're not just sitting around and being idle. For example, if someone has been working on a farm all day from sunrise to sunset, we might say they had a long and tiring labor. The main characteristics of labor are that it's hard physical work, often involving manual effort or activity. It's similar to concepts like work or effort, but labor tends to focus on the physical aspect rather than just the mental or emotional part. So, when we talk about labor, we're usually talking about something that requires a lot of physical energy and exhaustion.